Hi, this is Steph with Belladonna Dyes, and today we're going to be making a crop mussel tea. For this project, I'm going to be doing it in a geode. So what I'm going to do is pick up a single layer of fabric and give it a pinch, and then using my sinew puller that I got from Boredom with Jen shop. You can Google her now. She has a website. I think she also still has her Etsy. But I'm going to scoop up all that fabric, and then I'm just going to tie it off with the sinew. So I wrap it around a couple of times, 2-3 times, and then I pull it really tight. And you'll see me check it periodically to make sure that I'm wrapping the sinew around itself. The more times you wrap the sinew around, the wider the white line will become. So I've been trying out this new thing with my geodes. Maybe you noticed right there how I sort of tucked the very center of the fabric in, and it makes it have like two tops. That kind of creates a little bit of interest in the center of the geode instead of it turning out to just be a single like bullseye type look. We'll see at the end if it works out. And then I'm just going to continue to wrap with the sinew until I get all the way down to the end of this geode. And then I'm going to speed this way up, because if you watch me do one, then you've watched me do them all, because I'm going to repeat the process until the entire top is all tied up. Now, if you wanted to, you could just keep wrapping all the way down and make one giant geode. But for this one, I'm going to split it up into two separate geodes, and then I'm just going to repeat the process. And I should also mention that I do have a link for this sinew puller and matching caddy set down below in the description box, along with everything else that I use for tie-dye. So make sure you check that out. I do realize that for those of you that are brand new to tie-dyeing, this is probably way too fast for you. I do have a handful of other full-length geode ties, and so I recommend that you go watch those where I explain it a little more in detail, and I just go at a much more regular pace. These are super duper easy to make, and I put off making one for probably a year because I felt really intimidated by making a geode. And I'll tell you, do not be afraid. They are actually a ton of fun to make. And you can go really wild with your color combinations, because it's almost like the more crazy you go, the better they look. See, that wasn't so bad. I want to say this probably took me about 25 minutes to tie up. I'm getting faster at them the more that I go. And off camera, I tied up a handful more. And I'm going to be doing a Muck icedye on this one. So I found this container in the closet and it's the perfect size. So I'm just going to kind of smush them all in there. I want to make sure they're in a single layer though. I don't want to have, a bunch of fabric on top of each other because it is sort of a thick fold. So I want to make sure everything's laying flat so everything sits the same in the muck water. And now it's time for the fun part and my favorite part. We get to add the dye. So this technique is called dye under ice, DUI. And I'm just going to make stripes. Simple, quick and easy. When I chose colors for this one, I was thinking jewel tones. And so I picked complementary colors like across the color wheel. So the really dark power berry will contrast really nicely with the tangerine. And keeping in mind that tangerine splits down into like red and yellow, I figured the red will go well with the purple and, sort of help the orange and the purple blend together without creating like crazy brown color. And the amethyst is kind of like a red violet color, so I put that in as a buffer because next to the mustard there will be amethyst, and the red in the amethyst, in my hopes anyways, it's going to meet with the mustard and kind of make a nice golden orange color. So that was my thought process when I was choosing these colors. And I can tell you, it turns out pretty amazing. Keeping in mind, you can make your project any color you want if you don't like this color palette. And once you have your dye on it the way that you want it, give your project a quick little sprinkle of soda ash for good measure, and then add your ice. And I like to add enough ice to where all of the fabric is covered, but it doesn't need to have several inches of ice because it doesn't need to float in several inches of muck water. Just enough to where, it's kind of all covered. And then you want to let it batch for at least 24 hours after the ice melts. Now, this container is new to me and I don't know if it's going to leak, so I placed it down inside of a tote that I know doesn't leak. And that's the muck water after 48 hours. And it looks terrifying, but I can tell you, trust the muck. And as I'm editing this, I feel like I'm like pulling lobsters out of the lobster tank at the grocery store. I don't know, just something about the gloves and the dark water, and they're sort of like a lobster shape. Anyways. So now it's time for the rinse out. And I swear, it feels like untying them takes just as long as tying them up. So you want to start by using cold water, and that's going to rinse away any soda ash that might still be reacting within the fabric. And then you want to increase your water up to hot and rinse until the water runs pretty much clear. So the cold water takes away the soda ash, then the hot water takes away any unbonded dye so it goes down your drain instead of into the washing machine, because you don't want soda ash and a bunch of loose dye in your washing machine creating more muck water that's going to redeposit onto your light colors. Okay, so from here I'm going to take it to the washing machine, and I like to use Curalon. Curalon is a professional textile detergent. Dharma also has their own brand. I think it's just called Dharma's Textile Detergent. It's a couple dollars difference. I think they're exactly the same. I don't know. I haven't used it. And then I like to do a final hot water cycle using Millsoft. And Millsoft is a professional fabric softener. And I get both the Curalon and the Millsoft from Dharma Trading Company. And you'll find the links right down below, quick and easy to help you find. And you can read up on it and do some research. I know that a lot of people like to use Dawn dish soap, and I cannot speak on that because I never have tried that method. Then I put them in the dryer and I'll iron it, and we'll come back and we'll see the results. Before we get into the reveal, I just want to share something with you that I'm noticing here. So on the left, I took a picture with the cardboard down on the table because it's like a 3X and it was too big for my table. And on the right is my die table. And they look drastically different. They actually all look just like the left side. So keep that in mind as we're going through the reveal. Now, I don't know why it's such a drastic difference. Bo and I were thinking maybe because the cardboard absorbs the light, whereas the die table reflects the light back at the camera, creating some type of optical illusion. So that's just something to keep in mind, you guys, because, when you're taking photographs for online selling, if your item shows up in a completely different color, the customers are going to be upset and complain at you and want to do returns and all of that. So, I don't know. All right, let's get into the reveal. Well, here it is, guys. This is the one that you watched me tie up. And remember how I talked about pushing the fabric down in the center, creating 2 points? That way you don't have a bullseye. It worked. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit more and try to perfect it. I love this color combination. So the Power Berry is the darkest color, like the deep purple, and in some areas it kind of looks like navy blue. And then the Amethyst is that red-violet looking color. And it plays really well with the tangerine, just like I hoped that it would. Now the mustard, when it mixes with the Power Berry, creates like a really pretty deep kind of blue-green color. And everything just works for me on this. Like, these are the types of colors that make me happy. The kind of wild, crazy color combinations with a lot of contrast. And, I love purple, and so you just can't go wrong. So overall, I'm really happy with the way they turned out. I love the color combination. What do you guys think? Please leave me some comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a thumbs up, and click the bell and set it to all. That way you get notified of future uploads. And remember, have fun tie-dyeing!